capture. The couple has been indicted on narco-terrorism and other charges. Officials say they expect a court appearance by Monday evening. President Trump said the U.S. is going to run Venezuela until a transition of power can occur.
The first airstrikes happened late last night in the capital of Caracas. It was a wide-scale air, land, and sea military attack involving at least 150 aircraft.
And we have new video in of the aftermath in Caracas. Venezuela's attorney general said innocent civilians were killed. Sources told NBC News that some U.S. soldiers were also injured but are expected to survive.
Joining us now, our own Conan Nolan, looking at the implications and, of course, the reaction to these strikes. Conan.
Boy, it was stunning. This was a bold move, a very controversial move. It happens on the anniversary of when we went after Manuel Noriega in Panama 36 years ago. But it appears that, yes, we will see the former leader of Venezuela in court as early as Monday or Tuesday. This after an extraordinary event which started at around 1 o'clock local time.
A remarkable and historic scene tonight in New York. Federal agents escorting off a U.S. government aircraft the now former president of Venezuela. This after Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores had been captured during a U.S. military raid on the presidential palace in the Venezuelan capital of Caracas. President Trump announcing the extraction of Maduro, who was taken to the United States to face federal charges of narco-terrorism.
The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States.
The dramatic raid taking part in the early morning hours, video on the ground capturing multiple explosions and low-flying aircraft. General Dan Kane is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He says the entire operation took less than 30 minutes.
On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense.
There were no U.S. fatalities, although several service personnel were injured. The president says with Maduro gone, the U.S. will run Venezuela indefinitely.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Mr. Trump making reference to Venezuela's vast oil reserves.
We're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground, and that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country.
Nicolas Maduro took over from his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, in 2013. In the 2024 re-election, authorities loyal to Maduro declared him the winner. But journalists, diplomats, and academics gathered overwhelming evidence that he had lost by a 2-to-1 majority. No one on Capitol Hill came to Maduro's support, but many called his military apprehension illegal. U.S. Senator Adam Schiff posting that Americans deserve better than a president who so openly breaks his promises of peace when there are oil profits on the line. San Gabriel Congressman Gil Cisneros is on the House Armed Services Committee.
They said it wasn't going to be about regime change. That's exactly what Secretary Rubio said this was not about, but yet it is. Right now they are saying they're going to be running the government. These are the things that we're questioning now.
Maduro is expected to be in court early this week. Joseph McNally is a former acting U.S. attorney. He suspects prosecutors will get plenty of help from previously convicted drug traffickers who could aid in the prosecution of the former Venezuelan president.
As prosecutors, that is the most powerful evidence when you have somebody who was a participant in the conduct, had conversations about the trafficking, be able to come and ultimately testify in court.
Joseph McNally, formerly with the Central District of California, U.S. Attorney. So fundamentally, this is a case that deals with narco-terrorism, but there are ramifications across the globe. Certainly, Cuba's very concerned about this. Taiwan and their relationship with China.
Ukraine, Russia?
Absolutely. And so, but I have to tell you, it's something that the President and the Secretary of State said, we gave him opportunities. He didn't take them. And so you mess around. Donald Trump says, there's one thing you need to do and to take me seriously. And this was, in his opinion, an example of that.
What was the reaction on Capitol Hill? You had the reaction there from Senator Schiff, but we know, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, Republican, initially said this may be unconstitutional, walked that back after he said he spoke with Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Right.
But overall, it seems like both parties kind of getting in their usual positions
some
here.
have suggested it's a violation of the War Powers Act. The president was supposed to tell Congress, or at least the leadership, about this. They were in the dark. There were some Republicans who said we support it, but we should have known about this. And so there's real concern. And I have to tell you, there's concern amongst the MAGA base. Remember, the Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, very upset because they elected this president not to get in wars overseas. And there's been a lot of foreign policy elements to this first year of his second presidency, and this is one of them. There are a lot of people, I think Steve Bannon among them, look for him over the next 48 hours, who may be condemning this because they want more attention paid to the United States and domestic policy as opposed to what we're seeing with foreign affairs.
All right, we'll see what happens in court next week. Conan,
absolutely.
Thank you. Well, celebrations erupted around the world in response to Maduro's capture. New images coming in from Spain, Chile, and Peru showing groups of Venezuelans gathering with joy. Since 2017 and the rise of Maduro's power, roughly 8 million people have fled Venezuela, making it one of the world's largest displacement crises, according to the UN Refugee Agency.
And a similar scene in South Florida where dozens of people waved flags, chanted, and even sang the Venezuelan national anthem. The region is home to the largest population of Venezuelans outside of Venezuela.
Everybody's just happy because everybody has been waiting for democracy and change in Venezuela. And good things are going to happen now for these people. The last thing you lose is faith. And people have held on to the faith and hope that we were going to have a Venezuela that's free. It came today.
People in the crowd there said they believe this is now the first step towards a free and democratic Venezuela.
People are also reacting here in Southern California.
Our Amber Frias spoke with Venezuelans both here in the U.S. and abroad about Maduro's capture.
I'm outside Chamo Restaurant on Colorado Boulevard. Emotions here are high. People tell me they're closely watching what comes next. Overall, they're happy. This reaction comes as Venezuela enters a period of transition with potential changes to leadership, laws, and national policies. For many Venezuelans, those shifts bring the possibility of improvement, but also uncertainty of how quickly real change can happen. Still, many came here today to find community and celebrate what they're calling a first step in the right direction.
It was so amazing to see something that we've been praying for years, a free Venezuela, and hopefully we're on the way to that with Maduro being captured.
Last night, around 11, everybody was like crying, everybody's happy, music, celebration, but it's a lot of questions on the air, it's a lot of questions. We don't know what is going to happen.
We also spoke with one man living in Venezuela. He is not in the country's capital, but shared a little of what life looks like out there right now.
I would say around 7 a.m., 8 a.m. this morning, a lot of people was outside just buying groceries, just getting ready because we don't know what's going to happen.
All Venezuelans we spoke with today say this moment feels good. Not certain or easy, but full of possibility. In Pasadena, Amber Frias, NBC4 News.
We will continue to follow the very latest developments in Venezuela. Right now on our NBCLA website, we have a special section dedicated to live updates. Plus, you can read an analysis of how today marks a new day for Latin America.
Now to more breaking news. Santa Barbara County has just announced its first storm-related death.
It all happened during a water rescue. According to officials, a man was swept away in Maria Ignacio Creek just before noon. Crews did an extensive search in the rain and located the man's body 2 hours later. Santa Barbara County, one of the hardest hit areas today, remains under flood warning. The storm does continue to bring rain and flooding this evening. Our Street Vision camera here capturing slick roads along the 101. As we take a live look outside, the rain will continue tonight. Meteorologist Melissa McGee standing by, tracking it all for you. Melissa.
Hi there, Jonathan and Kathy. And yeah, the good news is that the light to moderate rainfall we had across our region earlier today is really starting to taper. We're still dealing with some scattered showers. So as we show you